Nate, it's great to have you on this session, mate. So a lot of people within this community know you already. All right. I personally first met you back in 2018. But for a lot of people, we've had a lot of new members coming into this community, not only this week after the challenge, but over the past few months, you know, and to a lot of these people, to me, when I first started, okay, I want to tell you my perception of you when I first started this business. And we've had this conversation before, but when I first started, like everybody else, I was 2A, okay? And I saw Nate, this super successful, at the time he was a 6A distributor, and this just seemed like so far away from me, you know, like reaching 6A. I put Nate on this pedestal, you know, he was this sort of high-ranking Enagic distributor, and I didn't really chat to him. We weren't having conversations, but I saw him on these videos, and I was like, wow, he was very straight talking, very down the line. And that was a little bit different to some people within the community at the time. You know, some people were talking about morning routines and personal development. But what I personally liked about Nate is he was down the line. He told it how it was. He's a Yorkshireman. You know what I mean? Yorkshiremen, they have a reputation of doing that. So the first time that I actually met Nate in person, all right, I might have told a few of you this story before. It was back in 2018. And believe it or not, guys, it was inside an airport. And I just want to throw the clock back before I bring Nate out to speak. And I want to share this interview with you guys, okay? So let me just find the actual page. So, and let me give you a little bit of background on this, okay? Back in 2018, there was a large event that was organized by the community that Nate was the head of at the time and that I just joined, okay? And I was 2A. And I was traveling to Los Angeles to this big event to meet about 50 distributors in LA for the Enagic 45-year. It was like a gala presentation thing. It was absolutely epic. And this is a video that I took in 2018 interviewing Nate Wells. So let me just jump into this screen share and show you this, guys. There we are. There we are. Can you remember this day? I'm sure you can, Nate. We both look a little bit different. I've got to say my hair there's interesting. So here we go, guys. All right. This is my first ever meeting with Nate. Now listen to what he has to say here.
Enough money to live the life that I wanted. So something had to give, something had to change. And a couple of years ago, I came across this online opportunity. It immediately clicked with me. It really resonated with what I wanted and what I wanted to do. Fast forward 2.5 years, I started this business by myself, and we're now a community, a global community of over 1,500 people, around 1,500 people right now. And we are on our way. Well, myself and Mike, we only found out yesterday that we were going to be meeting up in the airport in Hong Kong. We're actually on the same flight to LA, and we're going to be meeting up with 50 people from around the world. We're all going to be flying in to LA, and for 1 week, we're going to be together. We're going to be masterminding. We're going to be doing some incredible work.
So there you have it, guys. Let me just jump out of the screen share. For me personally, that is a bit of history of my business, of our business. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you heard what he said there. 2.5 years ago, I started this business by myself. And now 2.5 years later, we are a community of 1,500 people is what it was back then. And how many are we in DPM now, guys? Over 4,000. So the journey from that interview to today, it's been a wild one. And we're going to share a little bit about that with you. So Nate, before we talk about that, let's roll the clock back. All right. Pre-Enagic, pre-Vietnam. Let's roll the clock back and talk about your entrepreneurial career, because I know Enagic is not the first business you started. you started your entrepreneurial career, I believe, as a 10-year-old child. I mean, can you tell us a little bit about that, mate?
Yeah, I've always been an entrepreneur, but I've never been a businessman. And I've always found ways to make money, but I've never been really interested in following the business on. It was always ways to make money to a means to an end kind of thing. But yeah, my first sales experience kind of I was selling CDs, classical music CDs, in London, aged 10, and I would go down about once a month. I'd get the train down to London, and I would sell CDs in exhibitions over the weekends, and that is what paid for my first travel experience. Yeah, I used to travel to France every summer. I would spend. I'm from South Yorkshire, so I didn't really want to spend the summer in South Yorkshire. Who would? So I would travel to France every single summer by myself and stay with French families, and paid for by selling CDs down in London once a month.
So as a 10-year-old, you went to London, sold CDs, and used the money to go to France on holiday.
Yeah, basically.
Well, you know what it is, mate? You started early. You started early, thankfully for you and for us. And, you know, I know that France has played a big part in your life. I mean, you went there as a kid, and I believe you started working there when you were in your late teens, early 20s. Am I right?
Yeah, I spent every summer in France from the age of 10. And then when I was 17, I moved to France and spent 6 years in France, in Paris. I worked for the first 3 years, and then set up my first company when I was about 20, doing international courier work based from Paris. So yeah, Paris. I kind of grew up half in the UK, half in France.
So you're sort of glazing over it a little bit. I mean, let me dig into the facts. Where were you working?
Dig away, Mike.
Where were you working, Nate? Where were you working?
My first job, I was laying tarmac on the roads, manual labor, shovel in hand, literally. Then I moved over to Disneyland in Paris, and I was part of the opening crew in Disneyland. I worked in restaurants and bars and stage shows in Disneyland for 3 years. That was my first proper job. My first contract job was at Disneyland.
Serving burgers in Disneyland. Wow,
yeah,
how times changed, mate. So you did that for a few years, and then you started your first business, which was a international courier business. Now, again, mate, you've just sort of, casually skimmed over this, but what that business, it was a highly profitable and what sounds like it on the surface, a pretty awesome business. I mean, maybe you can share with people what it involved, share some of those awesome details of exactly what you were couriering, and how you ended up burning out from that, because it's a cool story.
I pretty much fell into it, to be honest, and it kind of happened very quickly. But I ended up having what they call an onboard courier job that I started, which I turned actually into my own company after a while. But I was delivering high value or important or urgent parcels all over the world. So I was working a lot for like the Swiss pharmaceutical companies. I was working for factories who urgently needed a spare part. I would deliver the spare part to them very quickly.
So it was literally get it in a bag, board the plane,
get in a bag, get to the airport, jump on the first plane, no matter what the cost, get there, get in a taxi, hire a car, whatever, and do the delivery basically faster than anyone else can possibly do it. And it was full on work. At first, it was like my dream job. I thought, wow, this is amazing. And then I turned it into a business, and I was literally sleeping in airplanes and airports for 5 nights a week, pretty much. I would literally get back to Paris and have a courier waiting with another job to do. I wouldn't even leave the airport often. But it was pretty interesting as well. I did a lot of work.
Many flights?
I did over 1,000 flights.
How many flights were you doing a week?
I did over 1,000 flights in 3 years. No, it was mad. It was nonstop. I was working for like Jean-Paul Gaultier, taking catwalk dresses around. I did jobs for Elton John. I did all kinds of stuff. It was pretty full on.
You brought some pretty sensitive material back to the UK as well. I mean, that's a pretty crazy claim to fame, Nate.
Yeah, like when Diana died in Paris, I took the photographs, because this was pre-internet, right? So I took the photographs back from Paris to the newspapers in London when she died. So that was one of my parts in that whole story.
That's crazy, man. Crazy. I bet you didn't know that about Nate, guys. I bet you didn't know that. Yeah. So, all right. You've been in France. You've done your courier business. By the sounds of things, that wasn't sustainable. If you've done over 1,000, 3 years you were doing it, though. I mean, what happened after the courier business?
It burnt me out, completely and utterly burnt me out. I made some good money and I traveled the world whilst doing so and got to stay in some really nice places, but I had no life, and I wasn't enjoying my time. I wasn't on holiday. I was literally spending all my time flying around. Back in the days when you could still smoke on planes, but it was too much, and yeah, it burnt me out. And the business was growing. I had about 5 or 6 guys who were running around doing jobs as well for me, but it was too much to handle. And at that time, I was happy with the money that I'd made, and I didn't really want to pursue it any further. So yeah, I moved over to Portugal and tried something different in Portugal.
So Portugal, I know we've got a bunch of DPMers over in Portugal. I think Emanuela is over there. I know Lenka is living the life over in the Algarve. So what did you do in Portugal, mate? Was it another business number 2?
Yeah, I mean, I tried a few things. I did I opened a car servicing business, which completely flopped, didn't work at all. And I ended up working in a coffee shop for a while on a military base, on a NATO base actually, and that was kind of fun, but it wasn't paid much. And then for some reason, I managed to get hold of a restaurant within that military base. The NATO gave me the concession, and so I opened my very first restaurant. I learned the restaurant business with Disneyland. And then I opened my very first restaurant. It was a swimming pool, bar, restaurant, snack bar kind of thing. And that was my first restaurant I opened in just outside Lisbon in Oeiras.
Wow. Okay. And that lasted for how long, mate?
I did that for about 1.5 years, I think. And the same story as what has always happened. Before I work a job and I make some money and I get tired and I just want to move on and go off on a tangent. There was never any, incentive for me to knuckle down and focus and just continue doing it. As soon as I'd made money, I've been there, done that, got that T-shirt, move on, do something else. So after that, I ended up, I bought myself a bus, a school bus, and I lived in Portugal in the summertime. And just drove around Europe basically in this bus around the festival scenes, and then as soon as it got cold, I'd fly out to India and spend the winters in India, and then fly back again for the summers. Did that for a few years.
So just
original van life, yeah. No Instagram hashtags or anything there.
What years was that in between, mate? When were you living the van life, the India life?
Early 2000s. I moved to France in 93. I moved to Portugal in 99. So yeah, early 2000s. I had my big yellow school bus, and I was driving that around in Portugal.
And did you have long hair and dreadlocks back then, mate, or were you still rocking the Vietnam fade?
I didn't. I already had a buzz cut by then. I did get long hair for a little while when I first got to Portugal, but it didn't last long. It was way too much hassle and effort. Now the buzz cut works way, way better.
I'm hearing you, mate. I agree. If
Yeah.
only I could get a haircut, though. It's not so simple these days. Anyway, we digress. So you spent some time driving around Europe. You spent some time, I think it was Goa in India, where you were mainly based, was it? Am I right?
Goa for a few months, and then I'd go up to the Himalayas for a few months. I bounced between Goa and the Himalayas, basically. I had two properties that I stayed at.
Okay, so what happened then? Obviously, Vietnam is somewhere along the line. When and how did that happen, mate? From Portugal to India? Yeah, I mean, what happened next, mate?
To be honest, mate, I ran out of money. Yeah, I started off in Portugal with the bus with quite a bit of money that I'd made from my previous businesses, and as the traveling went by, I did a bit of this and a bit of that, but it wasn't really generating that much income, and the funds went dry, so to speak. So I ended up back in the UK in 2005 with about £1,000 to my name, and I was just about 30, no, I'd already hit 30, yeah. So I was 30 years old, and I was being told to settle down. My family were telling me to settle down. They were saying, look, you've had your fun, you've been around, you've done all of these things, you've had this wild ride and all, but you need to settle down, buy a house, get married, get a proper job. All your mates from school, they've all got houses now, they've all got 3 kids, and you're 30 and you're basically driving around Europe in a bus. And I needed something to do. So I was looking for an option, a way that I could get a job in the UK, and there were a few things that I was really interested in. I was quite an experienced abseiler or rappeller, so I was looking at getting a job on construction sites, putting the scaffolding up on the outsides, because you get crazy money for doing that, and that was going to be where I was going, but I just didn't want to settle down in the UK. The story goes like this. Yeah, I got a phone call from a friend, and my friend's like, there's going to be a party down in Kent, I'm going to go down this free party in a forest. And I hadn't partied for a little while, and to be quite honest, I didn't really fancy it. I partied a lot by that point, but I did go down, and at this party, a guy literally jumped out of a tree in front of me and said, you know what, mate, I've just come back from Vietnam. It was amazing. You got to go there, and ran off. And it was a 6-second, not even conversation. It was literally this guy having a little rant and then running off. And I took that as a sign, and I'm like, okay, Vietnam it is. I have £1,000 left. And I went the next day to a travel agent. I bought myself a one-way ticket to Vietnam. They asked me if I wanted to go to Saigon or to Hanoi. I said, which biggest? They said Saigon. So I ended up going to Saigon. It cost me 700 quid for the one-way ticket back then. And I got to Saigon 5 days later with $300 in my back pocket. That was it, on a one-way ticket. I had no plan, no idea what to do. I didn't know what language they spoke. I figured that it was an old French colony, so they'd speak French or something like that. I didn't know. So I arrived in Vietnam, what was this, 16 years ago, 2005, without a clue and with not much money. But that was my last shot. I didn't just want to settle down in the UK because I had no other option. I wanted to give it another shot and do something else first. And that's what happened. And yeah, Vietnam has been very, very kind to me.
For sure, man. Well, it's a familiar story for me as well. I mean, when I was 25, I personally jumped ship over to Thailand, and having exactly the same thoughts. A lot of my friends were settling down and starting to have kids, and my parents were sort of suggesting that that's what they wanted me to do, etc. And I was like, nah, it's not for me right now. I mean, nobody jumped out of a bush and told me to go to Thailand, but you know, that there certainly are some similarities in the story there, mate. So you moved over to Vietnam, and I mean, this is, I know that you call that place home now. I mean, if there was going to be an affiliate marketing program for Vietnam, you would be the #1 affiliate, mate. You absolutely love that place, seriously, and I understand why. I mean,
totally
I've spent time there with you, and you know, to walk around Saigon with Nate, it's like everyone's waving at him. You know, everyone knows who he is. You walk into the shops, they're giving him free food and stuff. It blew my mind when I was actually in Saigon. You know, I don't know, you're like some local character over there that everybody knows, mate. It's an incredible place. So you started off in Vietnam. I know you ran businesses there, but presumably if you arrived with 300 quid, you were probably looking for a job first. I mean, what happened when you touched down in Vietnam? Talk us through that.
I did the cliche thing, just like yourself, mate, and I put myself out there and started teaching English. It definitely wasn't my plan. I left school when I was 16. I hated school, and had definitely no ambition to become a teacher. But I was teaching English. I taught English for 6 years all in, that is what got me started. That's what got me earning an income that I was able to put money aside in order to fund my next business project.
I mean, for all that I bashed teaching and the job that I didn't want to do, and quite frankly, it did a hell of a lot for me. Teaching was my ticket out of the UK. It was my ticket out of the UK. I got a visa, I got a half decent pay packet, and honestly, moving to Thailand to work as a teacher was the second best decision I ever made after starting my online business. However, had I not made that decision to move to Thailand, I wouldn't have been offered that opportunity, so to speak. Now, if anyone's watching this and they want a ticket out of the UK, I would seriously recommend, if you're just starting your business, and you're not at that point to be full-time just yet, but you do want to get out of the UK, it's a great way to do it, guys. So Nate did it, I did it. I know Nadia used to be a TEFL teacher. There's actually a pretty big proportion of people within this community who have taught English abroad. And at the same time, I think it takes a certain sort of mindset to do that, doesn't it? To just sort of jump ship and start all over again in a country you've never, you don't know anything about. So I think there's a reason that there's so many people within DPM that, have similar backgrounds. Do you know what I mean, mate?
Before the online opportunities came our way, and let's face it, it's only recently that we've had the technology to do so. I discovered high-speed internet for the first time when I came to Vietnam, and that was only 16 years ago. And there was no Wi-Fi back then even. It was all just emerging. And before the internet came, or at least the internet got good enough to actually support online work, teaching was the big opportunity. It was the one thing that particularly us English speakers could do, and rack up in a foreign country and start teaching English.
Well, I think quite a lot of the foreign schools are going to be getting a little bit worried because all the teachers seem to be turning into Enagic distributors. There's going to be no TEFL teachers left pretty soon. Anyway,
I wouldn't do it again. It served its purpose, but I would never teach again, ever.
For sure. I mean, somebody in the chat there, I think it was Lizzie, saying, I always thought teaching was going to be a passport for me until I found Enagic. And yeah, absolutely. A few people agreeing with this. Danny's saying she did her TEFL. Absolutely. Yeah, she used to be a teacher. So yeah, there's a lot of teachers or former teachers, now full-time Enagic distributors within this community. So after the teaching, mate, you obviously had the same feelings as me. You had a few different businesses in Vietnam, didn't you?
I did.
Talk us through those.
I kept doing the teaching because the teaching was paying so well. It was quite hard to give up. I actually didn't do that much work. So I kept doing the teaching, but I started businesses at the same time. My first one was my first dabble into the online world, which was I was buying like t-shirts, jackets, backpacks, branded stuff made in Vietnam under contract from the Western brands in the Vietnamese factories. I was buying them and shipping them out and selling them on eBay in the UK and making a serious profit doing that. So that was my first business. That was my first ever six-figure year of my life, and the last one for quite a while actually after that. But that business I started, I think, in 2007, and it went great until 2008, and we all know what happened in 2008. The whole credit crash, or whatever you want to call it, happened and wiped my business out completely. So I went from making, a good 10 grand a month to be making $500 a month, which meant back to teaching.
So you are essentially selling, branded gear that you were purchasing for cheap in Vietnam on eBay to clients in to people in the UK, right?
Yeah.
Just a huge markup on that.
$6 for a backpack, $6 to ship it back to the UK, 60 quid on eBay in the UK. No brainer.
Okay. All right. So that's a nice markup. Sure. Yeah. Now that was obviously your first taste, if you will, of internet money, wasn't it? But by the sounds of things, it didn't last forever. So you went back into the teaching, but I know that you dived back into the food and beverage business. And how many restaurants was it that you used to own in Vietnam? Was it 6 or 7 in Saigon?
I had 18 restaurants in Saigon.
Hang on a second. Yeah. Nate Wells owned 18 restaurants in Vietnam. Yeah. Did you know that, guys? That is crazy. What sort of restaurants? What sort of restaurants?
Fast food, kebabs, pizzas, pasta, stuff like that. They were quite varied. Some of them were literally kiosks on the street. Others were in supermarkets and shopping malls and food courts and places like that. So I opened one because I knew my way around the food industry. It was quite cheap to open, and the profits that I made from that first one, I opened another, and then another, and another, and then I kind of got carried away. But yeah, after a couple of years, I had 18 restaurants in Saigon and the south of Vietnam.
So 18 restaurants in Saigon. So what year was this? Just to give us a bit of perspective, mate.
It's when my daughter was born, so it was about 2008.
Okay, so you had a daughter in 2008. Let's touch on that. What was going on in your life while you were setting these restaurants up? I mean, you weren't doing it all alone, were you?
I got married. Yeah, I got married to a Vietnamese lady, and no longer the case. Divorced now, but had a daughter, Sophie, who is now 12 years old and living out in Finland now with her mum. It was quite a hard time. It was working literally every single hour. I was teaching at the same time. I was teaching in the mornings, and then the rest of the day I would be looking after the restaurants and the central kitchen, etc., and trying my hardest to be a providing father as well.
Dude, it blows my mind actually to think how your life must have been back then, because I've lived with Asian families before. You know what I mean? I've been part of an Asian family, and it's very different to the way that we live as families in the West, isn't it? It's very, very intense.
Intense is the right word, Mike. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, it's very involved. And I know that you are living, now you live in a beautiful apartment overlooking Saigon with a stunning swimming pool. But when you were running these 18 restaurants, like, your living situation was a bit different, mate, wasn't it?
Completely different. We had a house, like a townhouse, and it wasn't a bad house, but the family bit would be on the top floor, and then the middle floor would be for staff, and we had a lot of staff staying, and also extended family members. They were staying as well, helping out. And then the ground floor was just one massive central kitchen.
Extended family members.
Yeah. Anyone who's lived in Asia will know what that means. And yeah, the ground floor was a central kitchen, and so we supplied all the restaurants from one central kitchen, which was all part of it's all in the house.
So you were cooking everything downstairs and then driving around to each location and dropping off the produce for the day, right?
Every single restaurant got supplied directly from the central kitchen.
Wow. So,
and I don't want to get people under any illusions that, it's a fancy thing having 18 restaurants, because it's not. It's an absolute nightmare of a job, and the money that is involved and the money that you make is not that much. Yeah, the reason that I had 18 was because you don't make that much money from a restaurant. At least you didn't back then. Now it's a little bit different. Saigon has grown a lot, and the income and the middle classes have grown a lot. But back then, you couldn't charge much for food, and in order to be competitive, you had to keep your prices and your margins very, very low indeed. So in order for me to make anything similar to what I was making previously online, it meant I had to go really big and to have as many locations as possible.
Sure. So the restaurant business lasted how long, mate?
I kept it going for about 3 years as well, and after 3 years, we had some trouble, a supply problem. You're always dependent on something in the industry. My major product, or my major ingredient, was pork. Yeah, so I was selling my best seller, let's say, were kebabs. And the kebabs here, we make them with pork meat. And all of a sudden, the pork meat doubled in price over about 5 weeks and literally ate up all of the profits, to the point that I was actually having to teach more hours just to pay the staff. It was really hard at the end. So I was having to work even harder just to keep the restaurants afloat until the pork prices came back down again. And they didn't, well, they did eventually, but they didn't come down quick enough. So I ended up selling up. I ended up getting rid of all the restaurants. I sold the whole lot, and I moved up to the beach, about 5 hours drive away from the city.
And so you moved from Saigon. Anyone who's been to Saigon, it is pretty much the definition of a thriving Asian metropolis, like you see on the movies, you know what I mean? There's motorbikes everywhere, fluorescent signs, like interesting smells, people cooking noodles, people trying to hustle you for a taxi ride. It's an urban jungle. It's absolutely amazing over there. So from that hectic life, you moved up to, I think it was Vung Tau, wasn't it? And
Muinay.
Muinay, all right.
Yeah.
You bought a beach club in Muinay, right?
Eventually, I started off managing places for other people. I kind of got out of the whole business side of it. I was so exhausted from that. So I was managing other people's beach clubs at first. And then I bought one of my own, and I ended up with the biggest club on the beach in Muinay, with a big fat sound system and party all night kind of venue.
Wow. So, I mean, let us know if you're watching this, guys. I haven't really gone into the comments so much, but let us know what you think about this. I mean, if somebody said to you, do you want to move over to Southeast Asia to an incredible beach in Vietnam and own a beach club? I mean, that sounds, on the surface, that sounds fucking awesome, doesn't it? Beautiful sunsets, beautiful hammocks, serving some cocktails. Like, was that the reality of it, Nate?
Not at all. It was an absolute nightmare. I had people coming in on a daily basis, looking around. It was a beautiful place, don't get me wrong, but they'd be looking at me and say, "You're living the dream, mate. You're living the dream." And I'm like, "Nah, I'm living your dream, maybe." But my reality was I was working 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. I never had any time for any days off whatsoever. I was having to, stock the restaurant and the bar during the daytime, run the restaurant and bar during the evening, run the nightclub, often involving DJing and entertaining people and running around with a microphone and stuff like that at night. And then you'd have problems like, all of a sudden someone would come and say, "Yeah, the ladies' toilets are backed up." So, you've got to get elbows deep in shit. It wasn't glamorous at all. It was very, very hard work. I wouldn't get home until 8 o'clock in the morning, and 1 p.m. I was back on the job again. It was very, very hard indeed. Very stressful environment to be in. And again, the money wasn't that great. Yeah, it wasn't worth the huge amount of effort that you put into it. It was all right. It was comfortable. Don't get me wrong, but you weren't making mega bucks, which you'd expect to make for that kind of effort.
Sure. I mean, I think Lizzie's hit it on the head there. What she say? A beach club sounds great, but it depends which side of the bar you're on.
Yeah, exactly.
So true. So true. I was the manager of, my background's music. All right. I was the manager here in Newcastle of a live music venue, and walking into that job, I was like, "Oh, get in. This is going to be amazing. I'm going to get to hang out with loads of musicians. I'm going to get to see loads of free music. I'm going to get to network with all these cool people." By the end of 2 years, somebody walked in with a guitar and ordered a pint. It was the end of me. Like, so the food and beverage industry, it really does. It's a great industry if you're on the right side of the bar. Absolutely. So, all right, you've done the beach club. Then that, I believe, was the end of the beach club. Was a little bit of a turbulent time for you in your personal life, in your business life.
That was the end of my life as I knew it. To be honest, I literally found myself all of a sudden with, struggling. There was another club, bigger and better and fancier than mine, just opened down the road. All of the punters who used to come to my place, they were going to this brand new place, and I wasn't making the money anymore. I wasn't making enough money. All of a sudden, I had the rent to pay up front for the next year, and I couldn't afford it. And I ended up losing it. I lost the club. I lost my investment. I lost pretty much every penny I had. And at the same time, my marriage broke up. So I went from being a kind of semi-successful, even though hardworking entrepreneur, to being out of a job, out of work, no money, no car, and all of my savings, everything had literally disappeared, and that was quite a shock. And that was when I was 39 years old, so 2014.
So when you were 39 years old, you'd spent your whole life building businesses, building your life in Vietnam, building your family in Vietnam, and then
gone, literally overnight.
It ended like that, bro. That must have. How did you feel?
Gutted, absolutely gutted. I mean, it was nice in a sense to breathe a sigh of relief that I didn't have to work 18 hours a day again. But I was very much lost. I desperately didn't want to go back to teaching life. I didn't want to really open up a food and beverage business again, ever. And I didn't know where to go from that point on. If you're working as an employee in a country like Vietnam, unless you're teaching English, there's absolutely no money to be made whatsoever. You would struggle to rent even the most basic accommodation. So my options were really limited at that point.
So what option did you take, mate? You're in Vietnam, you've got no business, you're skint. Where next?
I sold my only possession, which was a motorbike, and I bought myself a ticket back to the UK after 20 years not being in the UK. I bought a one-way ticket back to the UK, and I had to find a way of building myself back up again. I also had a daughter that I had to support and needed to support. So there wasn't any time to sit around and cry in a corner. I had to take instant action straight away in order to keep my daughter afloat, as well as get myself back on track. So yeah, back to the UK.
So, back to the UK, and then finding a job in the UK. Was it straight into the truck driving? Or?
Yeah, that was it. I was driving trucks, small trucks, because I didn't have the big truck license back then. So I started driving 7.5 ton trucks, which I already had the license for. Within 3 days of getting back in the UK, I found myself a job already. So I was driving 7.5 ton trucks, and I booked a course to get the license for the big trucks, which I paid for out of the salary from the 7.5 ton trucks. So basically, yeah, I came back to the UK with nothing, but I was able to build myself up quite quickly.
So you were back in the UK. This is what, end of 2015?
2014, mate.
2014. You're what, 39, 40 years old
39
at that time?
Old. Yeah.
Okay. So you're driving the trucks, and before Enagic came into the picture, you were doing something else, the affiliate marketing side of things. But when did that come into your life? Like, when did you discover?
That was 2 years later. I drove trucks for 2 years. I built myself up. I got the higher licenses, the better qualifications. So I was then able to drive the really big trucks and sleep out, which is where you get all of the money. It's not glamorous at all, but you know, you can get quite well paid, or at least relatively well paid in the UK for doing that. So I did that for 2 years. However, all the time I was looking for a way that I could find some kind of business online, absolutely, that would allow me to go back to Asia, which is where my daughter was at the time, and live out my time in Asia, but with an online business rather than the physical Vietnamese business. So that's what I was looking for. And I came across the business model that I've adopted, which is similar to what we use now with DPM. I came across that on social media, which I just started using. I'd never used social media before. And I basically started following these guys who were doing this whole business model. And I ended up starting to work with them, and that was my first little dabble into network marketing. Wasn't very fruitful. I didn't make any money from it. And, you know, I invested a fair bit in trainings and stuff like that, which I didn't make back. The products that we were selling weren't very good. In fact, I didn't understand, really, to be quite honest, what the products were. Still don't. But it allowed me to really start to understand the inner workings of this business model, i.e. using social media marketing, web funnels, and consultative selling techniques. And this, for me, this was like, wow. As soon as I discovered this business model, I understood the potential that it had, and with the right products, it could become very lucrative indeed.
So you were doing network marketing with a different product.
Yeah.
With it back at the time, I believe it was GAZ. Is that correct?
It wasn't even GAZ then. It was something else. I think it was AWOL, Project AWOL or something like that.
Project AWOL.
Yeah,
okay, sure. Now this brings us into the sort of I don't know, certainly not the final chapter, but the Enagic chapter, when this comes into your life. So you were working with this online community, Project AWOL, selling digital products, wasn't it?
Yeah, correct.
And then you've told me the story about you make some sales on a beach, but then Enagic comes into the picture, right? And the boys at AWOL announce that there's a new product on the line that they want to show to their community. Now, this announcement by the Project AWOL at the time, by these guys, Two guys who you may have heard of. I believe it was Julian and Jan,
Yeah,
correct?
that's correct. Yeah. Some
Okay,
of the
so
older school people in this industry might know who they are, but yeah.
So if you've been with us for a while, this is a little bit of a history lesson, guys, as to why and how DPM came into existence. So 2016, I believe, is the date, correct?
Yeah.
You're selling these digital products. A announcement is made that there's a new offer that is going to be, you know, the new offer of this online community. And the original webinar where Enagic was presented. Now, I know that actually took place in Phuket, didn't it? The start of the Enagic revolution.
The start of that webinar, when that presentation, yeah, it was from Phuket. I've been looking for a product already. I was not comfortable at all with the product that we were selling. Didn't like it, didn't trust it, and I was looking for a new product. And all of a sudden, people in my sphere or circle were talking about this product, this old traditional sleeping giant company that had been, you know, plodding along and progressively getting better and better over the years, but hadn't ever been marketed successfully online. And so I was instantly interested, and I watched the presentation live where they introduced this product, and all of a sudden this product ticked every single box. It was exactly what I was looking for. And the guy who presented this product to us was a Hungarian Canadian guy that some of you may have heard of, called Balázs W. Cardos. And he had been knocking on doors until this point. He had been selling Enagic products the old school way, knocking on doors, getting people to allow him into the house with the machine to do a water demo and sample the products, to share the water around, maybe to do the odd demo in an office or a hotel somewhere for an increased large audience. And all of a sudden, he was talking to us over a webinar, a live webinar, and instantly I bought into it. I knew that this was the product that I've been looking for. This was the product that I've been waiting for. And yeah, that's when the Enagic days were born. And that was pretty much exactly 5 years ago. It was February or March, I forget, 2016.
Legend has it that webinar that was presented, legend has it that Julian and Jan, that 300 trifectas off the back of that webinar, of a single webinar that brought them immediately off one webinar. Both of those people hit 6A, which led Balázs to hit 6A2. Am I correct in thinking that?
Balázs hit -2. Yeah, he hit -2. So he was 6A2 when he did the webinar. He hit -2. That was the first time ever that Enagic products have been sold online, and it was the fastest sale of that many Enagic products. I forget exactly how many got sold, but in Enagic's history, all of a sudden it was just an explosion.
It took them 2 weeks to process all the forms. Stories to be believed. Yeah.
No, it's definitely stuff of legends. But yeah, they were stuck in a hotel room in Phuket, you know, sleeping all day, working all night, so they could stay in touch with the US time zone wise. And they were just processing forms. They had a laptop. They bought themselves a printer and a scanner, and they were literally filling out forms manually. They didn't have any autofill back then. Fill them out manually and put them in.
I bet DocHub didn't exist back then, eh?
It might have done, but they hadn't known about it. We found DocHub.
Well, I mean, the chat's going crazy, mind blowing. This is insane. And it really is, when you think about it, that almost, if you will, that origin webinar. And from that, what has come from that one single webinar. Essentially, guys, the chain reactions that have come from that, the various different communities, the connections that have been made. Like, I often sit and think, okay, just imagine if Nate hadn't showed up to that webinar. Yeah, like, fact is, well, we wouldn't be having this conversation now. There wouldn't be a couple of hundred people on this live. Like, the chain reactions that happen along the way, some of them complete elements of chance, you know, some of them are with intent, running ads. It's absolutely crazy to think, mate. So it's really good that we've been able to share this little bit of history, and we're almost on the hour mark, mate. And I'm conscious, guys, that we haven't actually answered any of your questions. All right. But at the same time, I really wanted to use this as an opportunity, not just to talk about Enagic and to talk about ads and to talk about ranking up. I think I wanted to use this as an opportunity for you guys to know the real Nate Wells. Yeah. Like, Nate Wells 6A3-3 is a number and a rank. Do you know what I mean? As I was saying to him before, it's almost like the military, you know, Nate Wells 6A3-3, but actually behind that rank, there's been
many years in the making. There's been a lot of work and a lot of madness gone into it. Yeah.
There's been madness, there's been pain, there's been blood, there's been sweat, there's been tears, but was it worth it, Nate?
Oh, hell yeah. Fuck yeah. No, it's been an incredible ride. It's not been the easiest of ride for sure. But the proof of what is going on right now, I mean, it took me just shy of 5 years since my Enagic journey began to hit -3. But there are now, with the community that we've got, the way that we've managed to iron out and smooth out all of these creases and bumps and obstacles in the journey, all of the times that I've tripped up and other people have tripped up, we've managed to now evolve into what we've got with DPM. There has never, ever, ever been a better time to start, because people are now able to rank up so much more quickly than I ever did. So I expect people to be hitting -3 within the next few years in 2, 3, 4 years time. Some people might even take longer. It doesn't matter. But the way that we've managed to build this system that allows everybody to literally replicate and continue to rank up, not just at the same rate, but even faster than before, is absolutely incredible. So it's really exciting times indeed. And all of the hurdles and obstacles that me and a lot of the other pioneers overcame or fell flat on our faces whilst overcoming have been now set aside. So you guys don't have to, you're following our footsteps, but you don't have to fall over as many times as we fell over.
Totally, mate. Paving the way. And I mean, seeing what we have here in DPM and the results that we're bringing out, that the number of 4As that we've been just churning out, that first goal to hit is essentially 4A, and any successful Enagic team essentially becomes a 4A factory. You know what I mean? 4A. And once you're at that 4A point, I'm not going to say it's easier, but it becomes a smoother ride, is what I found. Like, once you're at 4A, things just, for me, certainly, things really started to flow. And I think that's why 4A is the big first milestone in the Enagic business.
Has to be the first milestone. And everybody who's just getting started, if you're just getting started your business right now, focus on 4A. Forget about 6A. Forget about the higher ranks. Focus on 4A. Get yourself to 4A, and A, you've made your investment back. B, you have mastered the workings of the system. You fully understood it. And C, you've got yourself a team already who are operating, and you're going to start to benefit from team sales. D, you are making much higher commission because you're now getting 4 points, 5 points, depending on which products you started with. But most importantly, you've become a leader in that process. And you know, you get to 4A, and by default, you have gone through the whole learning curve. From 4A to 6A is pretty much just keep following those steps until you get there. It's incredible to see what's going on, and it's incredible to see now within the community, not only the 4As and 5As ranking up, we're getting 2 or 3 6A every single month now, which is absolutely insane. It's incredible, humbling.
And you know what I often think as well. I mean, straight up with you guys, I'm no spring chicken. Do you know what I mean? I'm 36 years old. Nate, you're certainly not 21 anymore. I'm sure you don't mind me saying that. But
I'm 46 now. I'm starting to get on a bit.
You started your Enagic business when you were 40 years old. Okay, yeah. I started mine when I was 33 years old, just tail end of 33. We've got people in this community, people in my direct team, who are 21 years old, who are hitting ranks, making sales. And, you know, sometimes I think, and I sit and think about, what are these people going to be doing when they're my age? You know, like these 21-year-olds who are ranking up in 15 years' time when they're 36, it blows my mind. Like,
the possibilities are incredible. When I was 21 years old, I saw the internet for the very first time. I was able to access a newspaper on the internet via dial-up. Yeah, those of you who remember what dial-up is, i.e. you go to load the web page and you wait for about 2 or 3 minutes until a page of plain text loads up. Yeah. And that was what happened when I was 21. If I had A, the knowledge, and B, the tools that you guys have available to you right now, these tools we couldn't even believe. I mean, if you'd have told me, you'd have showed me a smartphone, yeah, when I was 21, I'd have said, no way, don't believe you, mate. No way, it cannot possibly ever happen. You guys have been blessed. Yeah? The tools that you have at your disposal, the information, the trainings, the knowledge that you have at your disposal is absolutely huge. So what you guys are going to be able to do, but only I had that when I was 20, but it didn't even exist. Yeah. So now you guys are in an incredible position.
We got a bunch of people on here. I'm 19, just turning 20. I'm only 19. I'm not going to tell you what I was doing when I was 19, guys, but put it this way, I wouldn't have been able to sell many trifectas. So
you probably don't remember much.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are pretty much at the end of the hour. I know we haven't dived into the questions, but do let us know, guys. All right, drop us a comment and let us know if you've taken something away from this, if you've learned something about Nate, if you've learned something about business. Let us know, has this inspired you? Has this shown you that, you know, a journey isn't necessarily going to be A to B? Sometimes you've got to go to Z to Y just to get to that final destination. And you've seen that Nate has, well, he's got a hell of a story to tell, guys. So let us know in the comments, guys, if you've taken some value from this. Nate, if you got anything that you want to add, any final messages, maybe something that we can finish on, all right, is somebody who is new to this business, okay? Somebody who's just stepping into DPM is looking around, is thinking, is this for me? What would your advice be to somebody like that, Nate, to the newest starter?
Get informed. Get informed. You need to learn the knowledge. Yeah. If you don't know what this business is, it's all right looking around and asking your mates and, you know, oh, is this any good, or can I do this or not? Get informed yourself. Yeah, we have so much knowledge available to you, so much trainings available, and you need to get in, get stuck in, and really treat this very, very seriously indeed. And then, and only then, you can make your mind up whether this is for you. It's not for everybody. You know, not everybody is willing to make the effort, is put in the work that is needed. to succeed in this business. So what you have to do is get informed. Once you've been informed, once you've understood it, yeah, once you've been through the comp plan, once you've been through the Enagic business, once you've been through the Facebook training, yeah, that point, if you feel that it's the right thing for you, then you make a decision, and you make that decision to commit 100% no matter what. And if you can't commit 100%, then again, you know, maybe you need to ask yourself, is this best business really for you? But once you've committed, just go for it. Absolutely 100%. Don't hold back. When I found this business opportunity and I looked at it, I saw straight away that this is exactly what I needed. It is exactly what I was looking for. It ticked every single box. And I knew instantly that this was the business for me. Yeah, this is the business that I need to pursue, that I need to follow, that is going to take care of me and is going to allow me to proceed and progress and become the life that I've always dreamed of achieving. Yeah, I'm no longer that guy who used to work hard for a short amount of time, make some money, and then, you know, go travel or go do something else. Yeah, I'm now in a position that I want something solid. I want something tangible that I can actually grow and get old on and retire on. And this was it. So as soon as you are clued up, yeah, as soon as you've got all that information, make the decision, if this is for you, that you're going to commit 100%. And you commit, and no matter what, and there's not everything is going to go your way. Not everything is going to be completely and utterly smooth sailing. It's going to be a lot smoother than I had it, for sure. But you are going to be in a position that you need to focus on the goal no matter what. And that goal immediately, once you start with Enagic, is 4A. Focus on getting the 4A. Yeah, that's 20 sales, 20 product sales. As soon as you've got the 4A, you will see that you already have all the skills, all the tools in order to take your business to 6A and beyond. So yeah, get clued up. Yeah, get educated, guys. And every single thing that you need to know is in the DPM back office. It's in the training area, in the School of Marketing. So get stuck in there. If you haven't done already, that has to be your absolute priority right now.
100%, man. Make an educated decision, do proper research, and commit. It's as simple as that, isn't it? You know, this definitely isn't something that, you know, you want to jump into up to your neck without even thinking about it. It's, you know, it's going to be a big decision, and it's something that can make huge changes in your life, as you can see from the crazy results we're getting in this. Now, we're almost finished, but another question popped into my head there, mate, and I want to finish on this one. Okay, if you have asked some questions in here, guys, Nate will, I'm speaking on behalf of you here, I'm sure you won't mind though, Nate will dive through these and he can answer those questions once, you know, during the week, once we've finished. But I want to finish on this one, Nate. All right, back in the beginning, when you were 2A, when you were starting this business, did you believe that you would be sitting at 6A3-3?
Yeah, 100%, without a question of a doubt. I started this business just shy of 5 years ago. I was looking at Balaj on the screen, who was 6A2, you know, basically introducing this business, and I knew I wanted to be like that guy. Yeah, I wasn't quite sure how it was going to happen, but I knew that was where it was going to be. My first Enagic convention was in 2016, where I met Balaj in person. He was 2-2 at that time, and I looked up at him to be this, you know, huge figure within Enagic, but I knew that I was going to be after him. Yeah, I was going to follow in his footsteps. Now, I'll let you in a secret here. In the convention in 2016, in every Enagic convention, they have the regular convention, and they also have a private 6A convention on the side. I snuck in. Yeah, I went to the 6A convention, even though I was only 3A at the time. And I went there because I knew I was going to be 6A. Yeah, there was not a single doubt in my mind that I wasn't going to be 6A. Therefore, I felt it was my right to be in that 6A convention. So I went to the 6A convention. And yeah, less than a year later, I was indeed 6A, and I've continued to rank up on a yearly basis ever since. I had absolutely zero doubt in my mind, because I knew that I was going to do whatever it took, whatever was necessary, overcome whatever obstacles came in my way, and to make absolutely sure that that is where I was going to get. And it does require a bit of conviction. It requires a fair bit of self-belief, but basically you just have to look at the system that we've got, look at the business that we have, and if I can do it, so can you. Pure and simple. And that was my way of looking at it. If Balazs can do it, then of course I can do it. Yeah. And so that's not saying anything bad about Balazs, but I believe that if I can see somebody else doing something, then if I'm willing to put in that same amount of effort, there is absolutely no reason that I can't do it too. And each and every one of you that are watching, you've come this far, which means that each and every one of you can do the whole same thing. It's just a question of believing in yourself and having that conviction to see it through. Yeah, if you want to give up on the first, second, or third hurdle, then you're not going to be successful. Let's face it. But as long as you remain committed, yeah, and remain focused on your goal, there is no way that you can't achieve that goal, because it's you. You are your driving force, right?
100%, mate. 100%. Well, listen, bro, it's been an absolute pleasure to share an hour and 15 minutes with you tonight. The chat is absolutely popping off. I think the community has really appreciated this call. Thanks again for joining us, mate. Anything else you want to add before
if anyone does have any questions for me related to anything that we've brushed on today, I mean, either message me directly, you're welcome to, or if you want to put any questions in the chat, I'll go over the chat this week, but make sure you tag me. If you don't tag me, there's a strong chance that I won't see it. So yeah, tag me with any questions, and I'll do my best to get back to you either in the comments or DM directly. What else I was going to say? Yeah, if you have got some value out of tonight's call, please remember, yeah, take a screenshot. If you want, take a screenshot and add a story or make a post. Yeah, and tag myself or Mike in there, and it'd be really nice to see how many people have got value from this. And obviously, anyone who tags myself or Mike in any posts or stories, we'll share it. Obviously, we'll share it straight back.
Absolutely, guys. So if you have taken some value, which by the comments it looks like you have, do a little screenshot or a little picture. Let us know what you've learned, what you've taken away, and share that on your Insta or your Facebook stories. And absolutely, we'll share them as well on our pages. So it's been a great one, Nate. I thoroughly enjoyed having this chat, mate.
Yeah,
thank
really
you
enjoyed
for
it.
joining us. And I'll chat to you again soon, mate. All the best. Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers.